I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.
Dude, I just don't understand it with a lot of these like rich athletes, owners, just rich people in general who get caught up in some of this weird stuff, like massage parlors. Like I can understand, or not necessarily understand, but infidelity happens. Like you always hear about guys getting caught on Instagram, with their IG model, side chick or something like that, and getting busted getting busted in the DMs and stuff like that. But this is like almost on some, if it's true, some Tiger Woods stuff almost. And I'm talking about Deshaun Watson, your boy.
D-Watt.
Your boy. You have a jersey, Deshaun Watson. You've been rooting for him since he came to the Texans.
I got a couple.
And rightfully so. I mean, the guy's a stud. At first the news breaks, you're like, the timing on this is weird. Maybe it's somebody trying to dirty his name. He's trying to buck the system. He's trying to get out of Houston. He's trying to force his way out. How convenient is this news to drop, right? Drop his trade value and make him realize that he needs to stay in Houston and stuff like that. But now you have like about 19 people coming out and saying that he's had some pretty questionable actions. 21 people, excuse me, saying that he has had some pretty questionable actions inside of massage parlors. I don't get it with Deshaun Watson personally, just because he's 26, 27 years old. Not trying to be misogynistic or anything like that, but Deshaun Watson can probably have, his pick,
bro,
right?
Just look at his Instagram and look at his girl. I mean, like, shit. I don't know. Maybe he's just horny as fuck, I guess. But his girl's a dime, bro. His girl's a dime. And now we're talking about 21 women that are talking about that he was asking them to put their fingers where the sun don't shine and shit. I mean, it's not Robert Kraft at the massage parlor, is it? It's kind of different.
It's different. It might be worse than Robert Kraft at the massage parlor. Is you got a guy in the prime of his career, and you have 21 different people who are all kind of corroborating the same story, saying that this guy was acting questionable. One girl came out and said that he started thrusting into the air. Like he was laying down naked, and all of a sudden just started hip thrusting out of nowhere. And that he actually texted her a couple of weeks later and had no recollection of the event, supposedly.
Right. So, and then like she sent him the video or some shit.
Yeah, she sent him receipts pretty much of a previous text message conversation between the two. And that's when Deshaun Watson was like, oh shit, maybe I did see this girl before. So that either tells you that he really does see a lot of masseuses and he doesn't know who's who, or he's just a weirdo kind of and just got caught in the act. I don't know. Or maybe he's on something. He gets on something.
No, I mean, you don't just get caught in the act 21 times. Like, and just to go back, I never thought, I was never under the impression that it was the team doing this to him. I know that there was the connection between the lawyer that's representing all of the women, Busby and the owner. But I don't know if they're friends or they live in the same neighborhood, they're neighbors, something along those lines. But most people thought that they were using it kind of as leverage to, devalue his trade stock or maybe not make him tradable, because of all of those question marks. So people were either on one side of they're setting him up or no, he did it. So at this point with 21 women, I don't think that the team is setting him up. Was the team maybe helping him keep it quiet while they were on good terms? Now that's a separate question. I think if he was happy there and he wanted to be there, I don't think that the team would do some damage control. It doesn't seem like there's very much damage control being done, especially if the owner and the dude are friends. Maybe there would be some damage control. Now, would the owner put the dude up to it? I don't know about all of that. But I definitely do think, I mean, does this come out if Deshaun isn't in the news for wanting to be traded from Houston?
Probably not.
Because the team keeps it under the rug, or because
I think because the team keeps it under the rug. I mean, we know how powerful these teams are in these cities, and especially when it comes to your star player. You have hundreds of millions of dollars locked up in this guy, and you're going to do everything that you can to keep him on the field, even if that means brushing some stuff under the rug. But the moment that he's acting out of line and saying, hey, I don't know if I want to be in Houston anymore, the floodgates are open. He doesn't have his protection. He doesn't have the team looking after him. I'm sure the team has people who are former FBI agents, people who know dirt about. I mean, I'm just getting ideas from what's that movie, House of Cards. You got people doing background checks on people with information that you never thought was out there. They have people that know all this stuff for sure. I mean, you always heard about that infamous Walmart video of Des Bryant acting up in the parking lot that supposedly never got out because Jerry Jones didn't let it get out. These teams have that kind of power in these cities.
Roman, if the team would have kept it under the rug, does that mean that the team is the one that sparked all of this? Do they go hand in hand, or does it make sense for the team to be able to keep it under the rug if they're on good terms? But since they're not, for it to come out, does that insinuate that the team is the one that is behind it?
I mean, it leads one to believe that the team may or may not have known something about it. I definitely think that enters the realm of questioning. I do think that makes it a possibility for sure. I don't think it protects Deshaun Watson from anything. As far as, hey, the team was enabling him and stuff like that. Now, Deshaun Watson still went out and did what he did. But it does go to show you that the moment that you're acting out of line, or you're saying that you want to get out, that the team's not going to look after you anymore. It's a business. It's a business.
Yeah,
to your point, though, do I think that they were out there riling these girls up together and stuff? I don't think they were doing that.
I don't think so either.
I think it's one of those things where this is probably, if you're in the know, you're around the organization, or you're somebody in that city, I'm pretty sure you've heard rumblings of Deshaun Watson being a little freako.
Kind of like Harden at the strip club. It's at the masseuse parlor.
So stuff like that. There's rumblings that he's into stuff like that, but it never gets out because there's somebody protecting the floodgate.
Roland, so 21 cases, and here's the other thing, like the women aren't filing criminal charges. It seems like they're just after some sort of bag.
It's all civil.
Right. So the other thing, 21 girls, going after the bag, and then Deshaun's lawyer finds 18 masseuses that can vouch that he wasn't a weirdo.
That's wild. That's a weird angle to take.
So we're talking about 39 masseuses, Roland. 39. I mean, that's kind of that kind of just paints the picture to me.
He's a wild boy. He's a wild boy.
Like, fam, it really takes you 39 different masseuses to find the one.
And it's just like from his thing, and what was giving him the saving grace in the very beginning was his reputation. All you've ever heard about Deshaun Watson is mama's boy.
Right.
Deshaun Watson and mama's boy is like a synonymous thing in the dictionary. When it comes to sports dictionary, that's all that you've ever heard about the guy. He's never done anything wrong. And maybe that's true. Maybe he just likes to get massages and these girls are out for the bag. Who knows? But it looks bad.
Looks bad. And
I don't know. That puts him on the exempt list. He might end up on the exempt list.
What's the end? What do you see as the end game here?
I don't know. To your point, there hasn't been anything criminal. I think that's the next step, though. I think the lawyer is trying to get the city to pick up a case against Deshaun Watson, or the state to pick up a case against Deshaun Watson. I think that's where they're going, because to your point, when they keep it all civil, then you can always make the argument all these girls are out for the bag. But you got to take it a step further.
We've seen many athletes encounters with women that have gone wrong, on the women's part of the story. And we've seen them all settled before, criminal charges get put on. So I don't see it out of the realm of it being settled, outside of court before it even gets to court, just kind of paying them off. But that does make you look guilty as well. So,
and that's one hurdle that he'd have to clear, it's that whole legal aspect. You still have, as we know, the NFL, they operate over a different set of rules. I'm not shooting anybody bail. Yes, he's my guy, what I'm about to bring up, but Zeke Elliott was never proven guilty of anything. He still ended up being suspended and out. You have all of this stuff against Deshaun Watson. He's going to end up on some exempt list. I don't expect him to be on the field week 1 with the way things are going right now.
Is he still tradable?
Yeah, he is, because he's going to be on the field again. This is going to happen. He's going to find his way, unless this thing takes a crazy turn and it goes, and I'm not trying to make light of anybody's situation, if it goes into the Bill Cosby realm, which, leave it to the internet. There's already, I think, it ended up in our group chat, memes of him with that, Bill Cosby stuff. So it could go that route. I don't think it's going to go that route, but I am going to go out and say I don't expect Deshaun Watson to be on the field week 1. He's going to be on the exempt list. There's too much right now. It's too crazy.
I haven't even thought of the exempt list. I was just thinking about, what he's facing with the women right now. I wasn't even thinking on the field yet.
Yeah, but let's say he avoids all legal stuff, right? And there's no jail time. It's all civil.
Right. So could he avoid maybe even the exempt list if he comes out of the Scotch clean? You don't think so?
Nah, that's still under like the NFL's code of conduct policy. Like, he's been acting like a wild boy. Like, the NFL has their own set of rules that they're gonna look at him under, and I don't know. Unless he has a coming to God meeting with the Texans and was like, hey, I'll never leave your guys' side again. Never, never, never. Let's forget about all this. I don't know.
We're talking about 21, bro. 21 is serial. Like,
that's crazy.
Serial killers are in the I don't know. Deshaun's got to see a counselor.
Dude,
get some help, fam. Your girl's fine as fuck. Get some help.
That's crazy, man. And all the talk about him leading up into this has been about how good he is, how good of a person he is, how he deserves to throw his weight around, right? And now all leverage gone. If you're just talking about
stayed out of the headlines,
negotiations.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's how we get things started here on the We Talking About Sports podcast. We're getting right to the shits this week.
Hey, we don't waste
any time.
We don't run from it. We don't run from it.
We don't waste any time getting into it. Without further ado, so We Talking About Sports podcast. I believe it's episode 38, if I'm not mistaken. I was out last week. Ben carried the team with a couple of guests. Thanks for everybody that came on and helped us out.
We had guys coming in off the bench playing their roles, baby.
For sure. But yeah, Ben, how have you been, man?
I've been good, bro. End of the week for me. I ended up getting tomorrow off. I'm gonna hit the Valero Open. Tomorrow. Watch some golf.
Nice. You found tickets?
Yeah, got hooked up. So I'll be going for free. I was like, yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. I played a little bit of golf. Played 9 holes after work today. But this Friday, bro, I'm treating it like Friday. We got news early today. I've already gone out on a limb, baby. I already went there. And I know you said you would bet Myra that it doesn't happen. But Texas Longhorns got Chris Beard, baby. The Longhorns got Chris Beard, pooched him away from the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And he's coming back to his alma mater. I didn't even know that he was an alumni of Texas, bro.
Yeah, he is.
So it all makes sense. It's not betrayal. He went home. He went home. But I was ecstatic about that. I said in the next 5 years, Texas will have a national championship. If Chris Beard had the team that Shaka Smart had this year, we might still be playing with all the teams that were getting bounced early. Texas was in that Alabama bracket. They would have been playing UCLA. Like they could have still been playing. So
they should have played UCLA instead of freaking Abilene Christian playing UCLA. Or would have been the second round matchup.
Exactly. And so very excited about that. Very excited about that. But yeah, man, it's Friday. A lot of sports, full swing in sports.
Can I hear you say Texas is back?
Texas is back in hoops for damn sure. I mean, the only thing that could have been better was all those rumors about Urban Meyer, back in January, December. Like, if it would have actually happened, oh my God. Urban Meyer running football and Chris Beard running basketball, Texas would be back. I would have come on the show with Bevo today.
Yeah. Things looking up for Texas. Things looking up in Austin for the basketball team. I thought things were looking up with the way they were playing this year. I'm usually pretty skeptical, but they were playing a good brand of basketball most of the year. I was a little surprised that they lost to ACU, but that's the way it goes. And I don't even think Shaka got fired. He left, right? He just decided to go to Marquette.
God, hey, man, but it was like a blessing because in comes Chris Beard. I mean, could it have gotten better? And then Roy Williams retires. I mean, I got to work. Roy Williams retires, bro. 900 plus wins, 33 plus years of coaching, calls it a career at North Carolina. I know you all told me shit because I called Texas a blue chip program, but they get the top guys. That's what I was referring to. But North Carolina is blue chip. That's for damn sure. So that opening, that head coaching opening, I know we're going to talk a little bit of college later, but man, like very good head coaching openings in college basketball. I don't even think that Indiana filled their head coach.
Indiana, they hired Mike Woodson, the former coach for the Knicks.
Okay,
he's an Indiana guy. He played there in the 80s. He scored over like 2,000 points for them. So it's coming home for Mike Woodson.
That's the theme.
He just got to learn the recruiting game because he's been an NBA guy his whole career. So it's a different beast. But that's one thing that Chris Beard's good at. I mean, he was bringing some top-notch recruits to Texas Tech. So
will the recruits get better at Texas? I mean, they will, right? If Shaka Smart was pulling first-round draft picks, lottery picks.
And, I mean, you got to look at what Chris Beard was pulling at Texas Tech, too. He was pulling some McDonald's All-Americans over there. He was doing really well. Yeah, he was doing really well in the Dallas area, so I expect nothing less now that he has all the recruiting grounds to play with and all the funds and all that good stuff that comes with being at Texas. And, I mean, you're convincing kids to go to Austin versus convincing them to go to Lubbock. It's just like what I said. It's like, you can't be too surprised. Yeah, you can be bitter if you're a Tech fan. I definitely would be bitter myself. But you can't be too surprised. The guy used to go to Texas. That's his alma mater, and it's Austin versus Lubbock. I mean, you give everybody that choice. 9 out of 10 of them are choosing Austin, and I think the 10th person just likes to be out in the ranch or something like that.
I'm expecting them by like his second recruiting class, I mean, I want them to start rolling like the way Kansas was rolling in the Big 12 for that stretch of years, bro. I think Texas pulls the athletes. They've just been missing that head coach, and there's no doubt that Chris Beard is a top 5 college coach.
Yeah.
X's and O's on the court. I'm not talking about necessarily recruiting because there is coaches that pull, those bigger players, guys like Juwan Howard, who just got in, and Michigan's already having the number 1 recruiting class. But as far as X's and O and on the court, Chris Beard is, he might be second to none, bro. He's up there. So.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. And, I don't think it's a given, though, that Texas catapults straight to the top of the Big 12 because the Big 12 is pretty good. I mean, Baylor's playing in the Final Four right now. Kansas had a down year. Oklahoma State's usually pretty competitive, but I think they can catapult them and see what happens with Tech. But yeah, definitely a good signing. I'm a fan of Chris Beard. I like what he does. I thought they were going to beat Virginia in the championship a few years ago.
This is one of those signings where there's not people on both sides of the fence. Everybody's on the side of the fence where, they finally got the right guy.
He's an upgrade. He's an upgrade from Shaka, so I'll say that much. Yeah, but over here on this side, things have been okay. I got my vaccine yesterday, or my first shot of Moderna, so I'm on my way to being fully vaxxed. I'll be fully vaxxed by May. I go back at the end of the month next month, so should be good. Went to a few Spurs games this past week. Felt good to be back in an NBA arena. I didn't get to go last year because, what happened? COVID shut it down halfway through the season. But yeah, it felt good to be back in the stadium. Got some cheap seats. Me and my brother went. My Spurs jersey finally came in. I wore it the first game that I went to. We went to a game 2 nights later. I decided to wear my my Spurs like shooting shirt, like the stuff that they wear when they warm up on the court.
Right.
I decided to wear that, but it was freaking Fiesta night.
Jeez.
So
you didn't get the memo?
Court, yeah, I didn't get the memo. So the whole court and everything, they had the court decorated with the Fiesta style. The players were wearing the Fiesta jerseys. And I didn't wear my Fiesta jersey that I waited 4 months for. But
what player did you end up getting, bro?
Yeah, I just got my name on the back, baby. It says Zamora on the back.
He'll never get traded, baby. He'll never get traded, baby.
Never get traded. I have PTSD from Kawhi Leonard leaving. I mean, I bought his jersey opening night. I've said the story a couple times on the podcast already. And he got traded that year after playing 9 games. So it's going to be – I was very tempted because I love DeJounte Murray. I think I might actually get his jersey. He's on a long-term deal. He should be there a few more years.
Stay rolling.
Yeah, so I think I might get a jersey of his up next. But, yeah, man, things are good. NBA swinging. We got MLB back today. I know I already bet on a game or two. You did. Opening day.
Our boys play right now at 9 on ESPN.
Mm-hmm. Astros versus A's. Astros once again favored to win the West. See what they do. I know they lost Springer to the Blue Jays, so that's a big loss at the top of the lineup. But the Astros got a good farm system. They created the guys that all came up these past couple of years, so no doubt that they'll be back. I think the big thing for them right now that I was reading was the contract negotiations with Correa. So hopefully that gets done. And it's crazy because you and I, as Astros fans and friends going on for a long time now, we've always talked about how, at least with this recent iteration of the Astros, how we thought both you and I were on the same page on this.
He was the guy. He was the guy that if anybody needed to go or get traded or not re-signed, it had to be Carlos Correa.
It was Correa. Yep.
And then last year's playoffs happened. And last year's playoffs happened, and that talk on the mound with the pitcher, and I mean he went out there and carried himself like the guy. You know what I mean? He is the Houston Astros heartbeat right now, I would say. And he has that swagger to him. He plays with a lot of confidence. The problem with him was never play. It was always that he was injured. That was always a problem. But, when he's in the lineup, he can be productive. And at shortstop, he's locked down. If there was a guy for the Astros just based on play, it would be Correa. But obviously he's 5'5", and he just doesn't fit the image. Altuve. I'm sorry. It would be Altuve. Yeah. But he's 5'5" and really doesn't fit the image. But, Carlos Correa last year definitely showed that he was the guy on the Astros. He was the guy in the clubhouse that had the voice.
Yeah, definitely.
And all of that. So I know that he already turned down an extension. He didn't think that it was enough money. This is a Carlos Correa jersey, and he won us over, Roland. So I definitely do not want to lose Carlos Correa.
Yeah, I want him back. They avoided going to arbitration because they signed that 1-year deal that kept him here for this year. But they want that long-term extension. They want to lock him and Bregman up, get that core, him, Bregman, Altuve. Bregman and Altuve already under long-term contracts. But get those 3 guys locked down for the future.
And they re-signed Brantley also for a couple of years again.
Yep. So Brantley came up big last year.
He did, and he's a vet. And it sucks. I won't be able to say Springer Dinger anymore. We won't get any more of those leadoff Springer Dingers. But the Blue Jays already got going today. They took down the Yankees opening night. So.
That's pop at the top of the lineup that you don't see every day. So I'm definitely sad that we lost Springer. But, yeah, let's lock up Correa and let's get this season started, man. I want to go to an Astros game. I know I'm going to try and make it out there this summer. Yeah, I know you like to go to the games.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's just get into it again. I know we started off with the NFL, deviated a little bit of myself when I introduced myself into some MLB. But let's pick up with the NFL because, again, as we always talk about the NFL, that it's a new system that's 365 days a year. They own Sunday. And guess what? It's draft time. We got the pro days. We've had some pretty big pro days that went down this week. My biggest one, at least for me, that I think confirmed, and it's going to probably surprise you, but Kyle Pitts, I think he confirmed himself as the biggest freak athlete in this draft.
Tight end, correct?
Yeah, I'm not too big on drafting a tight end that high, but if you get a guy like that, he runs a 4.4. These are all unofficial times. I know there are some jokes going around that this might be the fastest draft class ever because all you hear is 4.38, 4.35 here and there. But Kyle Pitts running a 4.4 out of the tight end position. I don't even know if there's an NFL comp for this guy at the tight end position.
Vernon Davis.
Vernon Davis was the last one that everybody called a freak probably coming out.
Vernon Davis might have ran a faster 40 than that also. But Vernon Davis just couldn't stay healthy. But if I had to comp it, I would say Vernon Davis.
Yeah, this guy might be Vernon Davis. He has the size of a Travis Kelce. He's a freak. He was on the highlight reel every week this year. He was mossing guys. Definitely my favorite prospect, and I wouldn't expect to say that for a tight end, but he's my favorite prospect this year.
So a name that a lot of my friends were talking about was the wide receiver from LSU that passed up on the season, sat out the season. Jamar Chase, and people think that he's the best receiver in this draft. After seeing what Devontae Smith did all last year, right? Devontae Smith?
Yeah, Devontae Smith.
Out of Alabama. Now I know that he doesn't have the measurables, at the combine as far as height, weight, and all that. But we know that inside of those sidelines, and once you put the pads on, is different, man. There's guys that just go out there and they have it. They're X factors. They make plays. Percy Harvin style. I mean, we saw Percy Harvin get drafted very, very high. So Devontae Smith, I personally think, is the best wide receiver in this draft class. We've seen the Tyreek Hill effect, man. Like we've seen that the size can be made up for with speed and elusiveness, and if the player plays smart and just goes down. So I'm still on the Devontae Smith train that he's the best wide receiver in this class.
Definitely not knocking Devontae Smith for his size. That doesn't even enter into my my grade, I guess, or my draft grade for him. I was on record last year saying Henry Ruggs was my favorite receiver because I was in love with that speed. And Devontae Smith, I'm going to have to say, I'm going to do a little bit of a flop. I'm going to have to say Jamar Chase is probably the best all-around receiver in this draft. Not to say that Devontae Smith isn't going to be a Pro Bowler, because I do think he has that potential. He gives me those Tyreek Hill, Deshaun Jackson vibes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's going to be a stud in the league for sure. He stays healthy, he's going to be a stud in the league. He's going to be a Pro Bowler, everything. But based on the measurables, based on what he did on his pro day, based on what he did when he had Joe Burrow as his quarterback in 2019, Jamar Chase is that guy. I mean, we forget Jamar Chase. He had his game against Alabama where he went off, and he was going up against the number one cornerback in this draft, Patrick Surtain. He tore up Trayvon Diggs, who's a pretty good corner on the Cowboys now. The Cowboys are going to build that secondary around him. He lit them up. Jamar Chase is that
Better
guy.
hope the Eagles don't draft him then, Cowboys fans.
Yeah, no, I don't want to see Jamar Chase twice a year.
Well, and Roland, another thing that I saw was, the Dolphins traded back out of their pick from number 3 with the 49ers. So we've already had some movement in the draft.
That was the big move. Thank you for introducing that. What did the Niners do? What, they traded up to 3?
They traded up to 3. So they traded 2 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks. They got 1 back, and they gave up a 3rd as well. So they gave up 4 picks for their 1 pick back. So, they gave up 3. They've used offset those ones. But the obvious thing is they're looking for quarterback, right?
They're doing it for a quarterback.
Why else would the 49ers jump up to number 3? We know that there's those 3 quarterbacks. We know that Sunshine's going number 1, Trevor Lawrence. And at 2, it seems like Zach Wilson has won over these NFL front offices.
Yeah, he has. He hasn't won me over. I'm going to say something later, but yeah, I think he's number 2.
So the Fields is left, right? And I mean, we saw Fields prove himself.
Not so fast. They're saying that the Mac Jones Shanahan likes Mac Jones. They're saying Shanahan likes Mac Jones. But what I was listening to on the radio today, and shout out to ESPN Radio, they were saying that the true talent evaluator for the Niners was at Justin Fields' pro day. So there might be a little bit of a smoke screen.
Roland, they wouldn't have moved up for Mac Jones. Mac Jones.
I hope not.
Mac Jones would have been there when they were drafting.
I hope not. I hope
I
the
know
move
that
was not for Mac Jones.
there's supposed to be 4 or 5 QBs taken in the first round this year, but you could have gotten Mac Jones there. You didn't have to move up to number 3 to get Mac Jones.
I agree. You know, there's always the old adage that you do whatever it takes to get your guy. If you believe that you have a guy, and let's just say hypothetically speaking, the Niners are like, Mac Jones is our guy. Maybe that's the move that they make. But I'm not backtracking. I do think they need another quarterback. I don't think Jimmy G is the answer. But do you think that the Jimmy G's tenure in San Francisco's a failure? Like, you know, he got injured that first year. He had the Super Bowl run the second year. But I feel like he got shitted on ever since he missed that big throw.
He did. And you know what, though? I think that he's going to have one more year. I do think that they will draft a quarterback, but I don't think they throw the guy right into the fire.
Well, I wouldn't throw Mac Jones right into the fire.
Even or Fields. Fields either, bro. I mean, I honestly think the only guy that's ready to be thrown into the fire is Trevor Lawrence. That's it. I like Zach Wilson, but I'm not going to go out there and say that he can go out there and start from day one.
No.
The way that we had the 2 guys this year, right?
And they have a talented roster. They still have a lot of the same roster from the Super Bowl team.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're going to draft Fields. They're going to run Garoppolo out there until, you know, if they start off and they have a good record and they're above 500, they're up there for their division. As soon as shit starts going south, that's where they plug in, you know, Fields the way that the Eagles plugged in Hurts for Carson Wentz.
Or it could be a Miami situation. What if they're dedicated to switch no matter what they're doing?
Or they could set that, you know, that after the bye week, it's going to be his job, but we're going to see where he carries him. I've already heard Shanahan say that Garoppolo is going to be there. So, I mean, they're obviously not going to try and get rid of him. And it would be pretty hard to get rid of him based on the money that they paid him. But I definitely see Garoppolo as the opening day starter, even though they are going to draft Fields, in my opinion.
I hope they draft Fields. I wouldn't have moved all the way up there for Mac Jones personally. Not to say that I don't think Mac Jones is going to be a good pro. I think all of these guys pretty much project to be a good pro. So I don't know. This is a big move. You got to love it when teams call their shots like that, because that's exactly what the 49ers are doing right now, is calling their shot and making that move.
And that division's been very aggressive. I mean, we saw the Rams trade up a lot of their future for Matt Stafford. So those are teams that feel that they have that window and they just need to go out. We've said that teams need to win it on their rookie contract. Maybe the Niners feel that they have the pieces. They have those young receivers. They have the tight end locked up. They're a young team offensively. So I see why they're going right now. Okay, you know, this draft class has some guys. You just said you project them all being decent pros. At least, you know what I mean?
So they all have potential.
You got to go for it, and I like it. I like that they're going for it.
One thing I will say, I'm not sold on Zach Wilson though. I'm on the side of the fence that saw him play before he blew up this year, which I did. I mean, we're big college guys. You know, we bet college almost every week. We're in tune with the mid majors. He had an iffy year last year. He came into the season not with the job. He had to compete to win the job, you know. And
prior to this breakout year, you're saying,
prior to his breakout year, he had to win the job.
And wasn't he a transfer as well? Like, didn't he transfer to Boise, or was he there?
I don't think he transferred. He was there from the beginning. He had an iffy year in the last year. Then he comes into this year. He wins the job, and the rest is history. But he did play a tough game against Coastal Carolina. The game came to be like 48 hours before it actually kicked off. So got to cut him some slack there. But didn't have the best showing. And that was probably the best competition that he saw while at BYU last year. So I don't know. I just think we get so excited. And this is an ESPN effect with Patrick Mahomes. And oh my God, I've never seen a guy make a no-look pass before. Oh my God, I've never seen a guy throw sidearm before. And then they see a guy who kind of looks like that, and Zach Wilson, and all of a sudden all of these adjectives start getting attached to his name, and it's just like, just pump the brakes a little bit. I'm probably going to end up being wrong. Zach Wilson might end up being a Pro Bowler. He can make every throw in the book. He crosses all the boxes when you're doing your scouting report. But I still don't think he has enough under his belt to make me comfortable in choosing him over Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is better.
I'm way out of Sam Darnold, so I think Wilson is hands down better. I just think that Sam Darnold got made. I mean, those receivers at USC made him look pretty good. The dude was an interception machine in college, and it transferred over to the NFL. Wilson, what I will say is, look, we've seen Taysom Hill come out of BYU.
Yeah, he's a gadget player, though.
I mean, he was a starting quarterback for the Saints, and they lost one game out of like a 7-game stretch. He got paid. We've seen them at least put out a quarterback into the NFL. Zach Wilson is your prototypical quarterback. He has all the tools. I mean, Roland, we've seen guys, and we say, they haven't played the best competition. We saw Joe Flacco out of Delaware. Yeah. We saw Carson Wentz out of South Dakota or South Dakota State, whatever it was. Like, we've seen these quarterbacks from these small schools that have all the intangibles and have that QB size. They can make every throw. They may not be playing the best competition, but when the players get better, as long as you can make the throws, they're going to make the catches. It's the NFL. So I do believe in Wilson. I do believe that he's better than Fields. I don't think that the QB class is as high as everybody says that it is, though. Like, I'm not a big fan of Mac Jones, and Fields to me is like, man, I saw him get hit in that game against Clemson, right? When he took that pop and the player got ejected. And, bro, I just thought, oh, my God, like the safeties and the linebackers in the league, if they catch this kid, it's going to be –
he still tore it up that game. They won that game.
For sure he did, but, I mean, like that. The NFL hits different, bro. But he's been highly touted, out of high school into college.
Yeah,
the whole time. The whole time
4 years.
He's been the dude. Yeah, he's been the dude the whole time. So hopefully it transfers for the 49ers' sake, because
I think it will.
They took a shot.
I'll take Fields over Wilson. I'll take that stance. I like Fields over Wilson here, and I think you brought up a good point. He's been the guy since high school. Yep. We've been poking and prodding him ever since he stepped on to Georgia before he transferred to Ohio State. Justin Fields has been talked about as being that guy.
He didn't beat Jake Fromm because Jake Fromm made that run that year. But, I mean, he was better than Jake Fromm.
Oh, yeah.
He was better than Jake Fromm. Georgia might have fucked that one up.
And Fields is as freaky as it gets when it comes to being an athlete.
Like the way that Nick Saban put Tua over Hurts and forced Hurts to transfer, that's what Georgia should have done with Fromm and Fields, and they didn't do it. They didn't pull it. So, see, that's the difference. That's a good call. Well, the draft's coming up April 29th, I think. So we're going to be talking about it almost every podcast from here on out. So. Roland, I kind of feel like you have you weren't that big on Herbert. I kind of feel like you have the same vibes that you have towards Herbert, towards Wilson. And I wasn't in on Herbert at all.
Yeah, I was off on Herbert.
He surprised both of us, but I think that's how Zach Wilson's going to turn out.
Yeah. We'll see. He has the intangibles, like you said, and he can make all the different kind of throws that get the ESPN people excited. So
for sure.
Definitely excited to see if he can overcome being in New York. That's another challenge in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
That's tough. But that's the NFL talk. I don't have anything else written down. Do you have anything else you want to talk about in the NFL before we hop over to?
No.
I think we got MLB.
No, just some moves that the Texans have made. The Texans are stacking up the backfield. They did sign Mark Ingram. They have David Johnson coming back, and they signed another running back. It's slipping me right now. They also signed Tyrod Taylor. So if Deshaun Watson isn't ready to go by week 1 or is on that exempt list, like you said, that he'll probably find himself on, Tyrod Taylor is going to be the guy for the Texans. And I mean, Tyrod Taylor, he's the guy that got beat out by Justin Herbert just this past year. So he's been beat out by several players. I don't think that Tyrod Taylor is the guy at all. So it's going to be a big rebuilding season for the Texans.
Well, shout out Tyrod Taylor. He deserves another chance.
He stays in the league, though, bro. He stays in the league.
Yeah. He lost his job on a freak accident. I don't know how that is developing, but yeah, with the whole having his chest punctured by the medical doctor.
Staff?
Yeah, that's insane. But yeah, we'll see. And the Cowboys, I mean, other than signing Dak, I kind of signed off after that.
Alden Smith re-signed, right?
Yeah, I just want them to do the right thing in the draft. If we can draft Patrick Surtain, that cornerback out of Alabama, I'd be happy. We'll get a nice little secondary going. But yeah, we'll talk about that more. Hopefully, when Justin gets back next week, we'll go through our team's wants and needs in the draft. I think that'll be fun for the Texans and Cowboys. But yeah, that's the NFL talk. As we mentioned a little bit earlier, and we'll go through this pretty quickly. The MLB's back today. It's opening day. Fans in the stands. The MLB is letting the teams, kind of decide what they want to do with the fans in the stands. We have had a canceled game though. The Nationals game, their opening day game got canceled due to COVID.
The Mets as well.
Yeah, the Mets. Were they playing each other, or did the Mets have a separate game canceled?
It was two separate games. Yeah.
Okay, so two games have already been canceled on opening day due to COVID. Seems like the MLB is taking a somewhat conservative approach to canceling games. They said they followed their tracing protocols and decided to cancel it. So good on them for going ahead and doing that. But without further ado, we got the MLB, we got the big names. It's pretty top heavy this year, if you ask me. I think the NL is probably going to run through LA again out west. They're stacked. You got I think David Price, who doesn't even have a spot in the rotation right now. They got Bauer.
Kershaw did take an L today. They're pitching right now. They're in Colorado, so the ball flies out of that stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And Kershaw got rocked today. I know Ron's a big Dodgers fan. He'll jump on the bandwagon of whatever team's hot. So the Dodgers lost their first game. Ron might be looking for a new team, Roland.
We'll see you in New Jersey in the group chat here pretty soon. And then out in the AL, it's a little bit more wide open in the AL. I think you got some more teams that can compete out there. But for the second year in a row, the odds-on favorite to win the AL pennant are none other than the New York Yankees. Yep. And they also dropped their first game, if I'm not mistaken.
The Coltrane went down in extra innings to the Jays.
There we go. So
shout out Diego.
Yeah, shout out Diego.
It's a good start to that season win total, cuz.
Mm-hmm. I definitely didn't think Cole was going to go out and lose his first matchup, but I don't know shit about baseball, so I was wrong on that one. But I do want to say that in terms of who I think is probably going to win the NL, I'm not going to surprise anybody here. I'm sticking with the Dodgers. I think they're going to make another run. They have a deadly lineup. They still have Mr. Mookie Betts on their team. I'm not going against them out in the NL. But on the AL side, I do think it's a little bit more wide open. I don't think the Yankees have shown us that they can sustain their success. They've had injuries here and there that have thwarted them, haven't been able to get over the hump. So I'm not going to go with the Yankees. I'm going to go ahead and say that I like I'm going to say something random here. I like the White Sox to kind of take a jump here. They have a young core. They have some decent pitching. I know they got Chris Sale. Giolito's there. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the White Sox, south side of Chicago, to make a run in the AL and surprise some people. But AL is going to probably be the league that I watch the most this year.
Do you have the odds on them, on the White Sox?
Yeah, the White Sox, let's see here. I was looking at them earlier. I know they're slightly favored to win the AL Central. They're small favorites. The Astros are small favorites to win the West. The Yankees are large favorites to win the East, and the White Sox and the Twins.
But as far as just to win the AL?
To win the AL, yes, I can pull them up just real quick. Just give me a few seconds.
You got to think it's going to be, the Yankees, obviously, with the lowest odds, just based on.
Yeah, the Yankees are slightly favored to win the AL. Let me see.
I think that the Astros are going to have decent odds, man. I know that we're not starting the season with Verlander. I know Greinke's opening up tonight. I believe we're even underdogs to the A's tonight. But the Astros got to have a decent number on them this year. Not as much hype with the rotation. It's got to be a decent number on the Astros to come out of the AL.
Yeah, I think the Astros have a decent number. I think I saw them slotted like at plus 850 to win the World Series. Probably going to be a little bit shorter to win the AL.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, so they're there. They're going to be in the thick of things. Like
I'm
I
going to
said,
go with the Astros to win the AL.
Favorite. So to win the AL, the Astros are plus 2,200. That's what I'm looking at right now on VegasInsider.com.
Yeah, give me the Astros because I mean we're going to be in the playoffs, and once the playoffs start, baby, Verlander's going to be ready to go. So I plus
actually I take that back. That was for the World Series. They're plus 1,000 to win the pennant.
Still good.
Yeah, plus 1,000 to win the pennant.
Yeah, I like
anybody that you like to watch that you want to point out? Maybe
I want to watch the Royals this year. I think the Royals lineup is sneaky. I know people, T-Mobile this past Tuesday, I mean, they give you the MLB pass for free if you're a T-Mobile user. And if you're not a T-Mobile user like me and you got AT&T, you have camaradas that have T-Mobile. And they let several people sign up under the same account. So, that's free. And the Royals are fun to watch. They're going to be fun to watch. I mean, today they gave up 5 runs in the first inning at the top of the first, and then at the bottom of the first, the score was 5-4. So we already had 9 innings in the first 9 runs in the first inning. Game was wild. Ended up finishing 13-10. I think that there's going to be a lot of fireworks in the Royals game. They got a sneaky lineup. And another team is the NL. I'm going to go with the Padres. Right?
That's the team I was going to say. The Padres. That's who I want to watch a lot.
The Padres starting rotation also, led by Chris Paddock.
They got Blake Snell.
And Blake Snell, Chris Paddock. They have a nasty rotation. They have a young team. I really like the Padres, and I know that they're like one of those hype beast teams. Everybody seems to be on them. They're one of those popular preseason teams.
Yeah, everybody likes Tatis. But like you said, I love their lineup. They got Blake Snell. They got Clevenger. They got Paddock. I like that team out west. It sucks that they're in the same division as the Dodgers. Probably not going to win that division. But look out for the Padres to make some noise in the wild card. They just paid Fernando Tatis
big money.
Bag. They gave him that MLB bag. So you got to expect them to come out and make some fireworks too. So yeah, the NL, the team that I want to watch a lot of is the Padres, and the AL. It pains me to say it because I just talked about that I hated losing him, but is the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays look like they're a little sneaky team too with that lineup. They have some guys out there that can hit the ball. You got Vlad Jr. out there, George Springer, as we talked about.
What was that other? They had another young white dude, Roland. Who was he that he came up and he was hitting crazy? I believe that he hits
I know what you're talking about. I'm blanking on his name, but I know they have Craig Biggio's son on their team too.
Oh, they also have Craig Biggio Jr. I'm about to pull up the name. I don't know why it was like him mania for like a month last year. This dude for the Jays, Bo Bichetti. Yep. Bo Bichetti's hitting third in their lineup, and then Biggio's hitting second. Vlad's hitting fifth. They got Gurriel Jr. They got the Piña's little brother over there. So they have a decent team, man. They're young. They're fun to watch. They're a team that's going to steal a lot of bases, and those are the teams that are fun to watch. The teams that play on the go.
So I have a little topic on here. We don't have to get too into it. I don't want to spend too much time on MLB, but the Rangers, they're one of the teams that are actually going 100% fan attendance.
You got to when you have a new stadium, brother.
Yep, I know. I said I'd want to go to a game. Do you agree with their move? Would you go to a game at Globe Life Park? Up in
Definitely
Dallas?
not. I've said I'll never go to Dallas, just the city itself. So I've never been. I don't plan on going. But I mean, I see it. You could see it from a mile away. They spent a lot of money opening up that new ballpark, a replica of Minute Maid Park that they built over there, and they're gonna have to put fans in the seats because the bills got to get paid, man. These stadiums are worth a lot of money.
Loans got to get paid back.
Yep, exactly. So the Rangers, I don't expect them to have a very good season this year either. They played the Royals today, and they actually gave up the 13 runs. So they're going to be getting shelled a lot this year.
Yeah, fans who go to those games just go to get drunk.
Right. And something that we didn't bring up in NFL, but you brought it up here, but Roger Goodell did come out and say that the expectation is for the fans to be back in 2021.
Full attendance.
Full attendance. Last year I had the pleasure of going to a game because Mondo drove up here, Mondo and his girl Steph, and they wanted to go see Aaron Rodgers. His girl's a huge Packers fan. So Gabby and I went with them for the trip, but, seats were rowdy, spaced out. It was limited attendance, but we were in the stadium. But now it's the NFL saying 100% attendance this coming year, that's the plan. You also said that they're going back to London. Another thing that we failed to mention. So no Mexico this year, but they will be traveling overseas. So it seems like those bands, it seems like they're really going to, treat it as a regular season, pre-pandemic.
And I think the other thing though that we didn't talk about either is the vaccine is becoming more widely available to the point where the players are going to start getting vaccinated.
Right. I believe that the Astros already did get it.
Yeah, and we saw the picture of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander holding his teammate's hand when he got the COVID vaccine. It's already going to the NBA. So yeah, we're gonna see
things will start getting back to normal.
Yeah, we're gonna see a season that resembles something that we're used to. And I'm going to a game in Dallas. I'm gonna go to a game. I want to. I'll have my vaccine by the time the season starts. So. I'll be in an NFL game. I'll hopefully be in an MLB game this summer with the Astros. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the MLB. We're going to be talking about it more and more. Like we said, it was just opening day today. Wanted to introduce it a little bit. If anybody out there is a baseball fan, has any predictions that they want to throw out there, go ahead and give us a shout out. We talk about baseball here too.
Or a team that you would like to hear our opinion on, because we're going to cover the teams that we're fans of for the most part. You don't want to go on a tangent about MLB for an hour. We try and cover, most of the main sports here under 2 hours or at 2 hours. So if you have a team that you would like us to talk about, like, we watch this shit. You know what I mean? So if you're a Braves fan and you just want to think about, hey, what's the opinion of somebody who isn't a Braves fan? Honest opinion. So if you have any team that you want us to, talk about a bit, throw it out there in the comments as well.
Hell yeah, and we'll get to it. Yeah, that's the MLB. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun season. Fans in the stands and daytime. Nothing beats daytime baseball.
Hell no, that'll get you through work, baby.
Nothing beats daytime baseball. I work at home, baby.
Today they started at noon on ESPN.
Yeah.
Shit, work was over at noon.
I have it going on in the background. So
hell yeah.
Yeah,
and the
daytime
Bolero
baseball.
open. So hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go Astros, man. Let's start off 1-0.
Let's go, baby. And that's it for the MLB. Right. We're back with the NBA. A lot has happened since the last time I've been on the podcast with the NBA. We've got some trades, some new faces and some new places. Some injuries have happened.
Yep.
There's been a lot of movement atop the standings. Some guys or some teams are starting to make their moves. We're starting to see who the contenders are in the league right now. Anything that happened in the past week or two, Ben, that caught your eye?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week with Joby, but the Rockets, kind of just getting whatever they could for Oladipo while they could, because he was going to walk in the summer. We've seen guys make their debuts. Blake Griffin, I called him done. I called him washed. And then last night I picked him up for my fantasy team against you. He ended up splashing down 3 threes. Like, I mean, it's weird, bro. It's the
buyout season.
The Nets were big winners, man. Like, to me, it was kind of crazy how these guys were picking the Nets instead of the Lakers, which is what we saw last season. What we saw happen with the Warriors when they were on their run. We've seen these established guys kind of go ring chase, and they picked what side of their fence that they were on. And Blake and LaMarcus Aldridge both went to the Nets. Guys that were rumored to possibly be Lakers. The Lakers did end up coming down with their own big man. But shit's starting to ramp up in the NBA. It's the second half of the season. All-Star break's over. These teams are going to start clicking and start getting into playoff form. All firing on all cylinders. A lot's happening in the NBA.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Nets and the moves that they made, especially when you talk about the buyouts. They ended up getting Blake Griffin and they got LaMarcus Aldridge. And, rightfully so. I take it back. Not rightfully so. The word I was looking for, and as expected, NBA Twitter was up in arms. Everybody was acting like they just put together the 2014 All-Star team. This is not what happened. Okay, you got two guys in Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge who I'm sure from time to time can turn back the clock and show you what they used to be. But you're not getting 25 point per game Blake Griffin. You're not getting 20 and 12 LaMarcus Aldridge. And that's not why you're signing them. You're already the Brooklyn Nets. You already are pretty much favored to win the East. You're favored to represent the East in the finals. You're just adding depth. You're adding it on.
You need guys that you can play in the playoffs. Guys that you can rely on for whether it's 5-minute spurts, whether in one quarter they go 5 minutes Aldridge, 5 minutes Blake, and then the next quarter they go DeAndre and maybe Blake, and then in the third, they just need spurts from these guys. The team is going to be carried by Harden, Durant, and Kyrie. They just need spurts by these big guys. And I've always been saying, and that's the other thing, I wasn't making too much of a big deal about it because these guys are guys that we think that their best days are behind them. They're David West when he went to the Warriors.
I say he's better than David West. It's a step above that. But okay. Along those same lines, yes.
You're relying on them kind of for the same things. The vet, you rely on them in those big moments. They could be in their closing out games. Been there, done that. So I get it especially because that was the one position that everybody said the Nets need. They need bigs. They ended up landing Blake and Aldridge. Andre Drummond might be the best out of those three guys, to be honest. But as far as what the Nets needed at spacing with their team, these two guys were the fit for them. They got what they needed. They got it on the low. They have their three-headed monster, and they've been doing it without KD. It seems like they're making sure KD doesn't come back until he's fucking pristine, until he ain't gonna fucking bust down anymore. So big winners are the Nets. I think hands down the winners of free agency, buyouts, all that shit were the Nets.
Winners are the Nets, and I do have just a little bit of a bone to pick, and it's just more with the reaction to all of these things. I was watching some First Take, and I love Stephen A. personally. I think he's the best in the business at what he does. We're sitting here talking about him, but he said something about Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge, saying that these guys were, once the cornerstone of a franchise, and when you're at that level, you shouldn't be homie hopping and you shouldn't be going and chasing the ring. But I want to say, get that out of here. Honestly, these guys put in the work. They were the cornerstone of a franchise. They were that good. They weren't these guys that were never the man that you see ring chasing at the end of their careers. These guys were the guys in their franchises. They put in the work. If they want to go and get for a ring in the twilight of their career, then go ahead and do it. That's just the name of the game. Like Ben said, we've seen it before.
I could see him saying that about Harden doing it in the prime of his career when he's one of the guys,
Yeah, but don't hate on the ring chasers.
But on the guys that, are at the end of their career and the only thing missing is that championship celebration. Let them. Yeah. We're going to talk about somebody who was mad about where he ended up because he wanted that championship celebration. You know what I mean? So, no, I don't agree with that. Don't be pissed at these guys. We see it every offseason, bro. We see these big-time vets who are kind of, They can play. They're role players, maybe a little bit higher because of all the experience that they have, and they go to these teams that are contending. You know what I mean? So
That's the name of the game.
Every year, same shit. Every year, same shit.
And it's not like they're trying to be like, hey, we're going to get this ring and we're the greatest player of all time. No, they just want this, because that's what you play the game for. You ultimately want to win a championship. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be an automatic Hall of Famer. These guys want it for their own personal legacy and go out and do it. This
is Karl Malone going to the Lakers, fam. This is what this is. You know what I mean? This shit has been going on. This shit's been happening.
Mm-hmm. And, with that said, we're talking about the Nets, piling up the assets and getting ready for their playoff run. Do you still have the Nets coming out of the East? I think the last time we talked, you did.
100%.
And
now they have bodies to throw at Embiid. I thought their biggest, the biggest wrench in them getting there would be Philadelphia with the way that Embiid was playing, but. I'm not saying that these guys are going to stop Embiid, but don't let him get 30. Don't let Embiid get 30. You know what I mean? I think that between Aldridge, between Blake and DeAndre, some KD, that they're going to double Embiid because Philly doesn't have the greatest of shooters. They have too much skill for Philadelphia.
Yeah, way too much.
Way too much. And same thing with the Bucks. But Philly actually, has Embiid, who I value Embiid more than Giannis. Just because he can kind of do it all, you know what I mean? And you can run it through him. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the Nets. It's the Nets to lose. And I've been a big supporter of the Heat last year, but, I wasn't a fan of what the Heat did this offseason. I would call them big losers of the offseason. I mean, they did get Oladipo of the trade market. Maybe not big losers because they landed Oladipo, but they held on to those young cats a little too long and didn't go out there for that Chris Paul or that James Harden, which would have been way better than Oladipo.
Yeah, they were way too attached to Tyler Herro at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I'm a Tyler Herro guy, but you are way too attached to him for damn sure.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree. I got the Nets coming out of the East, and I do agree with your second point that it would probably be Philadelphia that offered them the biggest challenge, just based on the way that they were playing. You got MVP Embiid, or at least he's playing at MVP caliber level. So yeah, they'd probably be the team that challenges them, and they play a good brand of basketball in terms of playing defense. And you got Tobias Harris also playing the best that he's played.
He's playing probably his best basketball in a while. Tobias Harris.
Yeah, and props to him because he's a contract that everybody likes to point out as having a crazy contract, but he's playing worth his contract right now. So shout out to them. But yeah, I got them coming out of the East and the West, man. The West is crazy right now. You got the Lakers that are flailing. Does it matter?
Due to injuries. Due to injuries
for sure, but it's happening nonetheless.
For sure.
You got your your big dogs out.
It's because it's very tight up there in the standings, like 1 through 5. It's only a couple of games that are separating you, and if you lose 2 or 3 games in a week, the way the Lakers have been doing, you're gonna see yourself falling quickly.
Yeah. And speaking of new faces and new places, I did say I had the Lakers coming out of the West. I think the last time that we talked, but man, I'm falling in love with this Denver Nuggets team.
Really,
I like what the Nuggets did. I like that they picked up Aaron Gordon. I like the way Michael Porter Jr. is playing. I'm a big Michael Porter fan. He's an automatic. If you pay attention to his stats, he's an automatic 20-point, 10-rebound guy. He's a monster. He's going to knock down 4 to 5 threes for you. And now that you got Aaron Gordon, you don't have to worry about Michael Porter Jr. playing defense. You put Aaron Gordon on the best player on the other team or the best front court player on the other team and let him go to work on defense. Let Michael Porter Jr. worry about offense. And then you got Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. You just need Jamal Murray to kind of recapture what he did in the bubble. And you got a dangerous
lot to ask for, though.
Yeah, I know, because he played like
with the way that compared to the way that he's been playing now, like it's kind of hard for him to top that. You know what I mean? We're talking about an all-time, run with the way that he was running. I see too many holes defensively with the Nuggets when it comes to playoff basketball. When every possession is valued, like that, They can kind of pick on Jokic if they want to. Like Anthony Davis, like Jokic is he's barbecue chicken to Anthony Davis. And then if it's not him, then they're gonna pick on Michael Porter Jr. Like I don't like their matchup with the Lakers. I like them matching up with just about all the other teams there. I still think that the favorite is the Lakers if healthy, but I'm falling in love with this Phoenix Suns team.
Okay.
I really am. And the Chris Paul factor is the only reason why I think that they have a chance. If it was just Booker, Ayton, and all these young cats, I still think that they're too young. But that is who I'll be pulling for in the playoffs. Just because, Booker can be that guy to go out and average 30 for you in the series and get you the buckets. But everybody else is going to have to play their roles. And they have guys in pretty good roles.
Yeah.
Man.
I like Mikal Bridges. He's a good pro. He's turned out to be a really good pro.
Yeah, they have guys that can, and they have Cam Johnson as well, right? Johnson. That comes in off the bench. So they have guys that are versatile with length. It's just going to come down to DeAndre Ayton and how much gas Chris Paul's going to have in the playoffs. But
that's crazy. They recovered from that Justin Jackson pick really quick.
Yeah,
him out of there.
Yeah. But the thing, it was going after Chris Paul. Like, Ayton was a number 1 pick, so that was in your lap. They hit good with Booker because Booker he was a lottery pick, but he wasn't one of those top guys.
No, he wasn't. Yeah.
But they went out there and got Chris Paul, and that is what Booker needed, man. He needed somebody who's gonna slow the game down for him, not always have the ball in his hands, but be able to get him the ball off of whatever set play. So I'm rooting for the Suns.
Hey, and it's well documented how I feel about Chris Paul, so you won't find me rooting against the Suns. So, I like that pick. I like that pick a lot. But yeah, Nuggets, Suns, some teams that we talking about podcast guys like for you guys to look after here as we get.
Justin would have said Lakers. Just shout out to Justin.
For sure, yeah. Shout out to Justin. We had the Lakers in the script because they had that big earth-shaking signing with Andre Drummond. He was the
earth-shaking, Roland. He broke his fucking nail, Roland.
I know, but what I was saying is,
nail, fam. You're acting like it's Godzilla versus Kong.
I know. That's I was being a little sarcastic.
All right, it flew over my head. I apologize.
There are the memes going out there saying that Andre Drummond didn't know how to act with himself now that he's hit, the buyout market. He's acting like the Bachelor in Paradise or something like that.
He hit LA and broke a nail, bro. Like, get the fuck out of here, fam.
Andre Drummond's definitely one guy that was milking the buyout market, and rightfully so.
Rightfully so, because they told him stay away. Like they told him right off the bat, do your thing till we figure out what we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. And hey, a lot of times we always talk about it from the player's perspective here because. A lot of the time what gets out in the media is from the team's perspective, and it paints a player as a cancer from the team and stuff like that. But that's not the case with Andre Drummond. He's been nothing but a good pro. As Ben said, they told him to stay away. It was more mutual than anything. So, yeah, nothing bad there. But, again, you always want to look at it also from both sides, not just the team's perspective, as we like to do here. So, moving on from that, like we said, we just gave out some little dark horses in the Suns and the Nuggets. But moving on from the playoff picture, kind of getting into some controversy before we start transitioning into March Madness is the whole thing that happened with J.J. Redick. So, J.J. Redick has been on and off the court for the Pelicans this year. Was a early candidate to be bought out. He had mentioned that he wanted to get bought out and end up on the Nets. No surprise there, but he has some family out in New York that he claimed that he originally asked that he get bought out so he can go spend time with his family in New York. Not saying that he's lying or not, but it's very convenient that the best team in the NBA also resides in Brooklyn, New York. But neither here nor there. He said that he had an understanding with the Pelicans that would be the case. Lo and behold, according to J.J. Redick, he gets traded to the Dallas Mavericks, and now he's crying about it. I wouldn't say crying, but he's making it known that he did not agree with the business tactics that happened. He thought that he was blindsided, didn't think this was a good way of doing business for the Pelicans. And he said all of this on his podcast. I've listened to a podcast or two of his. He's a very articulate guy, so I don't doubt that he got his point out. But my question,
he's a straight shooter on there too.
He's a straight shooter too. He's not afraid to let you know exactly.
He'll air it out. Yeah, he'll air it out.
Exactly. So I'm bringing this up because as I just got done saying with the whole team perspective versus a player perspective, do you think JJ Redick has a bone to pick here? Or do you think it's
finally somebody else who's not buying all this Luka hype? Thank you, JJ Redick. A true vet in the league. Here's a guy where being a vet goes wrong, bro. We've seen all these guys that have been good basketball players throughout their career, done all the right moves. They usually get released or bought out, whatever it may be. I mean, we saw it happen with guys like J.J. Watt. Like, it doesn't matter. Teams usually do right by you. What did they get for him, Roland? I'll ask you because I don't even know what they got for J.J. Redick. What did the Mavs give them in return? Like, what?
Let me see the details of the I want to say it's probably just some compensation in terms of maybe a pick or some cash. Because J.J. Redick's a guy nearing the end of his career.
Right, but he was pretty pissed about the fact that they didn't just let him walk and go to Brooklyn where he wanted to go. You know what I mean? So I don't know. This is where the NBA is a business. This is where you get reminded that the NBA is a business, even if you are, JJ Redick, a guy who's played the game right his whole career, and the Pelicans too.
Yeah, and
it's weird.
And I think from JJ's perspective. And this is where I'll kind of side with him a little bit. I am on, before I even get into that, I will say I'm on the side that this is business. This is how it works in the NBA. But there is a thing about tact, and there is a way to handle your business. And if JJ Redick said that the Pelicans told him that they were going to do this, and they went ahead and did X, Y, and Z, I would be pissed also.
Yeah.
Is it business? Yes. But did they lie to his face? That's the way it sounds. And I would be pissed about that too. And why not let everybody know? You always hear it again, as we just got done saying. When a player's acting up, you always hear it.
And the other thing is, this isn't a young guy that they're doing this to. You know what I mean? This isn't this isn't Kevin Porter Jr. that they're giving away his locker to, a little 20-year-old. This is JJ Redick. This is a guy that the Pelicans signed and even re-signed, I believe, as a vet, as a guy to be a vet on that team, along with Steven Adams. But, they have a pretty young team. Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, Zion, Josh Hart, Alexander. They have a very young team, and JJ Redick was the vet for those guys. They didn't do right by him, bro. They didn't, because he's going to go to the Mavs and get eliminated in the first round. And he doesn't have many years left in him, to be He's a shooter, so the shooting is one of the last things to go away. But you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have very much more playing time years left in him, I would say.
No, yeah, his best years are behind him. He's on the way out.
Yeah, he could be that vet on the bench, maybe, getting a ring like that. But I feel like he wants to contribute.
Yeah, he got did dirty. Unfortunately, that's the name of the game. Not every organization carries itself the same way. Can't always expect honesty out of everybody. But the good thing about today, though, in today's age, is we're going to hear both sides, man. Everybody has a mic. Everybody has an outlet. Everybody has a platform. We're going to hear about it, and we're going to talk about it. So glad JJ Redick's getting his word out there.
Hell yeah.
And not just letting this go. So I know we said we're going to get into a little bit March Madness talk, and we're about to get into that right now, but just want to introduce a little bit of news college-related. Cade Cunningham, the number one prospect right now, by my eyes, in the NBA or going into the NBA draft, just declared for the draft. I don't think this was a surprise, but nonetheless, he's a projected number one guy.
Future Houston Rocket.
Oh, there you go. You're looking at him in the lottery as a Rockets fan as you guys are going through the tank job for the rest of the year. Do you project him to be an all-star? Do you have a player comp that you like for this guy yet? Or
No, I haven't thought about it that much. But, I mean, I do know that he's a taller guy. Is he going to play point guard in the league? What is he going to play?
He's probably going to be a wing player. He can run the point. He's a point forward. He's a new age guy. You know, he can handle the ball like a point guard, but he's got the size of a wing player. But he'll probably be out on the wing.
Yeah. I think he's a no-brainer number one pick. I think, you know, just as sure as we are that Trevor Lawrence is going number one, I think it's pretty damn sure that I don't think it matters who has the number one pick. I think Cade Cunningham's going to be the number one pick. I don't think it matters a team. The only other guy who was threatening was, you know, maybe Mobley for one of the big guys, but he got shown up by Gonzaga and Timmy this past game. I don't know. It's Suggs. It's a point guard. This draft, you know, it's Suggs and Cunningham.
Yeah. I agree. Cunningham's probably my guy at number one. Also, I do like Suggs is probably the second prospect. I think he's confirming that right now we're playing tournament. But Cunningham, he's one of those new age players. You know, he's a 6'8" wing player. He has every move in the book in terms of getting to the basket and getting his shot off. I don't know if he has. I'm trying to project him in terms of his.
He has playmaking in him as well, though, bro. He has playmaking.
He has playmaking. He is a potential franchise changer. I don't think that you draft him and he's automatically going to change your franchise. I do think he has that potential to do it.
John Morant?
I can see him being – he's taller than John Morant. He's like 6'9".
I mean, obviously not the size, but would you say that their game and impact?
They have similar game. I think Cade Cunningham likes to take a little bit more pull-up jumpers in the mid-range. He's a little bit better from that perspective. That's why I kind of like his game a little bit like a Jason Tatum. That's kind of what I think of when I look at Cade Cunningham. Might be one of the only – I don't know if I've seen that out there, but that's kind of what I see when I look at Cade Cunningham. And Jason Tatum is a bona fide all-star right now. So I do think he has good potential. I think this draft is a little weird once you get out of the top 5 maybe. The talent starts to get a little dicey. But yeah, Cade Cunningham's that guy. Going to be looking forward to talking about that. I don't know when the draft is for the NBA. It's going to be after the season. We're still in the thick of things. But this was the first bit of news to drop is the number one guy declaring for the draft. But without further ado, we're in April, but it's still March Madness. You know, we still got college going on. Final Four this weekend. We got Baylor versus Houston. And an all-Texas matchup, Baylor's 5-point favorites. I like Baylor in that matchup. And then you got Gonzaga again as a double-digit favorite. They're 14-point favorites, I think, over UCLA. I think that's the largest Final Four spread ever. And I think they're probably going to win. So I think we got Gonzaga, Baylor. But we did have an exciting weekend of basketball, or an exciting couple of days of basketball for the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. Is there anything that stuck out to you this past weekend that you want to talk about before we get into the matchups?
There was a couple of close games, man. I think that one of the themes is, you know, these double-digit ranked teams that were just making their runs. We saw Oregon State after Loyola got by Illinois. I think everybody had them automatically beating Oregon State, but Oregon State had other plans. You know, Oregon State came out and dominated Loyola from start to finish. You know, to kick off that Sweet 16 on Saturday. So it started. I was rooting for Loyola this whole tournament. That really caught me by surprise. Mm-hmm. The theme of the higher seeds, you know, making the runs, the Syracuse, the Oregon States, the UCLA's, Oral Roberts was in a game with Arkansas that night, 70-72. You know, a game where Oral Roberts led by 9 at halftime. Arkansas finally starts making shots, and then Oral Roberts gets, you know, a look that point guard Abmas, I believe is Abmas. Mm-hmm. I struggle saying it, but I mean that's a look that he's gonna want. That's a look that he's still wanting back right now, bro. That game was off the chain. I even had buddy Allen hit me up about that game, like, yo, that game was wild. I said, yeah, bro, I watched it from start to finish too. You always got to root for the underdog. You know what I mean? Especially Arkansas had just come out. Yeah, and Arkansas had just come out beating Texas Tech. So I was, you know, fuck y'all a little bit. So they got by them. But the theme of the double digit seeds, advancing deep. I think this tournament was unlike any tournament that we've had before. For that reason, we've seen that one team have the Cinderella run, but here we saw a handful of double digit seeds, make runs.
Yeah, I think there's something the most double digit seeds in a Sweet 16 ever. I'm glad you touched on that Oral Roberts game because they had to look to win the game. They could very well have moved on from that. What was it, Sweet 16? So,
and how big of a legend is Abmas if he hits that shot? Honestly, that's the shot that these kids go to college and crash out at night dreaming about in their dorms, bro. That's what you want. That's your Kemba moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I will say I was shocked a little bit by the Oregon. Whoever they took somebody out of the tournament that I didn't expect them to beat. I'm blanking out on who they beat before they got routed by
they
USC.
They got crushed by USC. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one that surprised me is UCLA, and just in totality, the Pac-12 completely surprised me this tournament. They're everybody's whipping boy when it comes to talking about disappointing Power 5 basketball conferences. But I will say, and I've heard this take a lot, and I kind of agree with this take. Unless you're a college basketball nut and you just love watching college basketball and you don't care about waking up with 5 hours of sleep the next morning, you probably didn't watch a lot of Pac-12 basketball this year because they play when everybody else is asleep.
And they play on the Pac-12 network as well.
Yep. The East Coast is asleep when UCLA, USC, and Oregon State are playing. I'm glad Ben brought up Oregon State because I didn't think they were going to beat Loyola the way that they did. And shout out to them, though, because I was on them the next game, and they got the break speed off them, but they found a way to cover, and that's all that matters.
And that Oregon win that you're thinking about is when they took out the guy who just got named the NCAA Player of the Year. They routed Iowa. That's the game.
There we go. I did not expect them to take out Luka Garza.
They put up 95 on Iowa.
Yeah, that was bad.
Roland, does Luka Garza get drafted?
I think he gets drafted. I think he's, tall enough. Makes enough tough shots. He has enough in the repertoire to exist in the NBA. I don't think he's straight to Europe. I think he's
straight to Europe, bro.
I think he's got a chance in the NBA a little bit to be like a rotational guy.
We're talking about, and that's rowdy because we're talking about the NCAA Player of the Year. Maybe having a shot at an NBA roster. We're not saying he has a for sure NBA roster. And this is a Player of the Year in college basketball. It's the game, the levels, bro. The way the game changes is nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, and he doesn't have that athletic bump, that can take him where he beats guys with speed or he can jump over somebody and get to a spot. That's just not his game. So I was definitely surprised to see them get knocked out. I want to see where Luka ends up, or Luka Garza, not Luka. There's so many Lukas nowadays. Luka Samane.
Let's not disrespect Luka Doncic. As much as I'm not on the hype, he's Luka.
For sure.
This is Mr. Garza, like Wally and Markey, just a regular Garza. This is just a regular guy.
Markey's cousin, Luka Garza. But I was surprised to see them get taken out. But I do gotta, give. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, how do you see the Final Four playing out?
Well, Final Four, oh man, I don't know. I'm probably gonna shoot myself in the foot, but I'm gonna go chalk. I think Gonzaga wins. I think it's rightfully lined. UCLA is probably the most surprising team to me. I saw them play a couple of times in the Pac-12 season. I saw them lay an egg against USC one time. I saw them in the Pac-12 tournament a little bit. Did not expect this run out of them.
From the play-in game against Tom Izzo. I mean, they made sure Tom Izzo didn't make the tournament.
Johnny Juzang, got to shout him out because I swear, as soon as he turned his ankle, I thought Michigan was going to win the game. I even went out and said, dang, Juzang doesn't look 100%. And then after that, I think he scored like 12 straight points without like missing a shot. So I definitely
They have the craziest like free throw defense, which is not a thing, people. It's like a sarcastic thing, but like, fuck, bro. The teams that are losing to them, the way that they're shooting is just unbelievable. Alabama shot under 50% from the free throw line and lost in overtime. Wild. We saw Michigan airball the game-winning attempt, and shout out to their head coach Cronin, man. His dad is like the new Sister Jean. He's at every game, and he's rooting them on. They're making this crazy run. I like you. I also like the chalk this weekend. I think that everybody wants to see that Gonzaga and Baylor matchup.
I want to see that matchup.
But minus 14 in the Final Four. That's the largest Final Four spread ever.
You got to think UCLA has enough talent to cover the way that they play. They got enough guys that can take you off the dribble. I think they play that, from what it looks like to me, a lot of 4 out, 1 in. I could be wrong. I'm not a savant out here that draws up X's and O's, but they do play out on the perimeter. They like to get the guys off the dribble. They don't have a true center. I like their chance with their versatility to cover. But, man, Gonzaga, they remind me in terms of machine and covering the way that Villanova did one of their runs when they had Jalen Brunson, when they were just running through people.
That's the only team that has a higher offensive effectiveness than this Gonzaga team.
Yeah, that's the team that came to mind in terms of their offensive ability, like Ben is talking about. That's teetering on all-time status. And if Gonzaga can complete this, you got to think about this run and this team not necessarily being the most talented of all time or whatever, but you got to give them credit for having one of the greatest seasons of all time, going undefeated, covering at the rate that they're covering the spreads, double digits and whatnot, and running through competition, COVID season and all. This has to be remembered as one of the best.
They're an automatic 40 points in the first half. If you want something for this coming week and you think 14 points is too much, first half Gonzaga team total, it'll probably be like a 38-39. They've hit 40 every game first half of the tournament, and they're going to hit 40. They just play too fast. Every position, everybody can shoot. Timmy's a guy who's been there forever. He's one of those college all-star guys. That's a guy who's going to go straight to Europe. But, he was showing up. Fucking
the Mobley twins.
Bro. He had like 13 points in like the first 5 minutes. We're talking about a dude with a handlebar mustache. Like, this Gonzaga team is primed. They're ready for this run. And it's about time that they get it. They came up short to UNC a couple years ago, but I think this is a year Mark Few gets it. Finally, with his first 5-star recruit in Suggs, one and done, and let's get it.
Yeah, I got Gonzaga winning it, cutting down the nets. So do you have Baylor coming out of Houston, coming out of that matchup? You said you got chalked, right?
Yeah, I do. I have Baylor. I think that Houston's tough, man. Houston's really tough. And Sampson, their coach, they have a coach who's been there, done that. They have a good guy leading them, but Baylor seems to have hit their stride in this tournament. They seem to be the pre-COVID Baylor again.
And it's going to be the best perimeter matchup that we've seen all tournament, with the guys that Baylor has out on the backcourt with Davion Mitchell. You got Teague out there. You got Butler, who they won last week and covered in spite of Butler going like 1 for 12 or something like that. He had an off game. They still found a way to cover. That's what great teams do. Good teams win, great teams cover. They found a way to do it. And then you got Houston on the other side, who they have a guy who's transferred from a couple of schools, and Daniel Giroux, who is
leading the charge.
He's leading the charge, and he's the definition of a general out there. He's like almost like a triple-double guy. Like last box score I looked at against Syracuse, and I even said it. I was like, if Daniel Giroux is healthy, Houston's probably going to win, and that's exactly what happened. I took Syracuse because I thought he'd be a little hampered, but he almost put up a triple-double, and he's the reason why they beat Q's.
Houston plays defense too, man. They get into it, and they knew that if they would shut down Buddy Boeheim, then that was going to be their biggest worry. If you shut down Buddy Boeheim, you're good. And they made sure that Buddy Boeheim didn't have a clean look the whole night, and dismantled Syracuse pretty easily. So, Roland, let me ask you: Gonzaga and Baylor advance national title Monday night. Gonzaga minus what?
Gonzaga is going to be at least a 2-bucket favorite. They're going to be like.
I was going to say 5.
Yeah, it's going to be like -5, -6 range. No more than -6.
Can it be lower than 5?
If it is, I'm taking them all day. Gonzaga's going to win, man. I'm not doubting them anymore. I don't think I've doubted them. It's just that we can't deny it anymore. Gonzaga's here. This is their time, and I don't think anything's going to stop them. I think they're on that scorched earth tour. They're going to go out and they're going to win, and they're going to win convincingly.
This is the year that has to be the year, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so just closing this out, another thing that got announced today, along with the Player of the Year, the Coach of the Year. Shout out Juwan Howard, his second year coaching, and he's already the NCAA Coach of the Year. We saw them lose Isaiah Livers, in the Big Ten tournament, right?
Yeah.
And obviously they still made their run. They got past Florida State, dominated Florida State.
Dominated them.
And that was a game that everybody had, as a toss-up. Will Florida State finally get over the hump? Michigan dominates from whistle to whistle, and then they come out and a dud against UCLA, man. So shout out to Juwan Howard. You have the number 1 recruiting class coming back. You got to think Isaiah Livers is going to come back next year. So Michigan seems to be, a team that's going to be there to stay as long as Juwan Howard's there. And I don't think Juwan Howard's going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, and shout out Juwan Howard, because he's a guy that people just started talking shit about. Like, oh, he doesn't have enough experience to be a coach. Yep. Since when has experience? Obviously, experience is not a requirement for coaching.
But if you play the game your whole life, you have experience.
Exactly. If you play the game the whole life, you know the game. And shout out Juwan Howard, Michigan man. He's right where he wants to be.
Like Fab 5 players coaching Michigan now, bro. That's fucking awesome, bro. That's
as good as it gets. Exactly. And I hope to see all of those Fab 5 guys show up at the games. I know Jalen Rose was there at this last one, but the Fab 5 needs to be embraced.
I don't know if Chris Webber will ever get over it, Roland.
Yeah, I don't know. But they changed basketball or college basketball for what it's worth. So before we move on from the basketball March Madness, I do want to say we have had the little bracket pool. We got about 16 of y'all in here because Fonz created 2 matchups or 2 brackets.
Fonz would cheat.
So I don't know how that got accepted.
Fonz wanted to lose twice.
Fonz is, though, with one of his brackets, he is in first place, but it looks like the winner is going to be Frost. If everything
Frost?
It's Frost, because I think he's the only guy in the top 5 that has the Gonzaga and Baylor matchup in his Final Four. And Gonzaga and Baylor is his championship matchup, and he has Gonzaga winning. So he has the most potential points. That's why I'm saying it looks like he's going to win this one. So
what was your Final Four, Roland?
My Final Four, I had Illinois cutting down the nets, but my Final Four was Gonzaga, Baylor, Texas, and Illinois. So I had Texas making a run in this bracket.
3 of my Final Four teams got fucking bounced quick, boy. I had Gonzaga, Texas, Purdue, and who was the last team that got bounced that I'm fucking forgetting? But
Gonzaga, Texas, Purdue. You probably had Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois. Yep. So 3 of my Final Four teams before the Sweet 16, fam, out of here.
That just goes to show you can watch all the games all year.
You can watch all the games. This shit is madness for a reason.
And we're here to talk about it. I'm glad we did the little bracket challenge this year. We'll try and maybe get a little prize for whoever the winner ends up being, like something small. But thanks for participating, and we're going to do more stuff like this. So we're going to be talking about it next week, because I think everything's going to be settled by
Monday night's the championship game, so we'll know who the champ is by Thursday when we come back on.
Yeah, so we're both here choosing Gonzaga, so hopefully we're right. Don't have to face the music by being wrong and ended up being UCLA and Houston in the finals.
That would be wild.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
On to more madness, Roland. On to more madness. There's a new baddest man on the planet. There is a new baddest man on the planet.
And the true baddest man. I think we for sure have the baddest man on the planet.
Straight
right now.
out of a fucking movie. I mean, the jokes were there with Dana White wants Ngannou to win so bad, but I mean, this is a promoter's dream. This is Tyson 2.0. This is a spectacle. People will show up. We're seeing it already be an issue with, the next fight coming up. Who's next? But Francis Ngannou finally, reclaims the UFC gold that everybody saw in his future. I saw a complete different Francis Ngannou this past Saturday. Prior, we would always see a killer, a guy who would go in there. We knew 4 fights. He had 2 minutes and 10 seconds in 4 fights, total octagon time. He went, 7 minutes with Stipe, calm, poised, picking his shots. I'm not going to blitz you. I'm not going to. We saw him stuff the takedown.
Stuff the takedown was huge.
That was huge, and I don't know if it demoralized Stipe so much because it was early in the fight, but huge for Ngannou. That was a big motivation for Ngannou.
I don't think it demoralized Stipe because, like you said, it's early and Stipe's a champion.
Right.
But for Ngannou to pull that off and, like what DC was saying, actually do the right thing while he's in that position.
And controlled. Yeah, like he hit him with some punches while he had him down there too.
Yeah, he slid right around. Yeah.
Right. Like, and he wasn't going to take the back or anything like that, but he got in position to strike and to be on the offense. So fuck, bro.
That's when I thought it was over. I thought he was going to get him out on the ground right there.
Fucking Stipe, man. Respect to him. I don't know if he's been fucking smacked with some fire hoses upside the head or what, but dude, he took some punches from Francis.
He took some punches, and I think the talk that all the pundits have been saying is that he thought that he hurt Ngannou in that last exchange because there's no other reason why he would shoot the way that he did like that.
No, he did hurt him. He did hurt him because you could see Ngannou reposture his feet because he caught him with a clean ass punch, but that was the worst thing that happened to Stipe in that fight was catching Ngannou because it gave him the confidence, and that's when Ngannou gets to go aggressive as hell, and what we saw him do to Rosenstrike, forward. I mean, bro, he hit him with a check hook.
He hit him with a short left, yeah.
I'm saying though, like Stipe was going forward, so he walked into that.
Yeah, for sure.
And the plan was never for Stipe to be the guy on the offense. The plan was, weather out the storm. He had already weathered out 7 minutes or whatever it may have been, 6 minutes. But we saw Ngannou starting to take deep breaths, even though he was still picking his shots. But who knows what would have happened in the championship rounds? You know what I mean? But man, what a fight by Ngannou. I never thought that we would see him be that precise. He looked like a mixed martial arts fighter, bro. He didn't look like just this powerful dude who's gonna chuck punches, hit you with one, and drop you. He looked like the complete package.
Yeah, he looks like a guy who's been putting in work. It's been well documented about the different camps that he's been visiting. I think the most recent one, he's been there at Extreme Couture in Las Vegas, putting in work. And that's what champions do. They find different ways to get better. It would be one thing if Ngannou, like Ben said, came in with the same old thing. He's going to go out there like a rock'em sock'em and knock you out, and he's going to get you out of there within the first 5 minutes. Right. But he went in there like he was going to take his chance, or he's going to take his shots. He's going to wait for Stipe to make a mistake, and then he's going to exert his power. And that's exactly what happened. And shout out to Francis Ngannou. He's a good guy too. I mean, and the whole time that he was waiting for his shot after the whole,
he didn't complain.
Call it what you want. He did complain a little bit, but he was a professional about it, and he went out and he took his fights. I don't think he had to take the Rosenstrike fight. He took it. It was a come up for Rosenstrike if he wins that fight. Ngannou had everything to lose there, and he took care of business where other guys would have stayed on the shelf or complained or something like that. Ngannou went out there and got the work done. So now, like Ben said, everything's like, what's next?
What's next?
We need that John Jones fight. We need that John Jones. Is
that your prediction? Does he fight John Jones next? We've seen John Jones going back and forth with Dana White, on social media. Supposedly, he's been offered $8 million to fight Francis Ngannou.
I don't think that's going to get the job done. I don't think that's what that fight is worth. But I will say there's a guy in Derek Lewis who's already said that he'll go out and take the fight. And I think that's probably where the UFC is going to go. I think we're going to see a Ngannou, Derek Lewis matchup. Let John Jones wait on the side. I would think it would be better for the UFC to let John Jones pick up a victory over somebody else. That way we can really get it hyped and be like, look at John Jones in the heavyweight body.
Yeah, but do you take the risk of John Jones possibly losing? I mean, if we're thinking and if we're looking at the the options that the heavyweight division has to offer as far as title challengers, it's very slim. It's Francis Ngannou, it's John Jones, it's Derek Lewis, and then where do we go?
Yep. Blades just got knocked into last year, so
do you have John Jones fight Curtis Blades? Is that the safest fight for John Jones?
Blades doesn't deserve that fight, though. Like, you don't give Blades to come up on John Jones like that.
But so if John Jones needs a warm-up fight, Roland, so who deserves that fight in the heavyweight division if not Blades?
Have him fight Gustafsson again.
Jesus Christ. Overeem might have been the guy. Get him in there with Overeem just to test out his power and shit in there, get comfortable, put Overeem out. But they just cut Overeem. Maybe Junior Dos Santos would have been another guy who he could go in there and get comfortable with. But guys don't have names past, the top 3, top 4 fighters.
But yeah, we need to see the fight, though. We need to see John Jones versus Ngannou. I want to see that fight. I don't know who I favor. Again, I'm not the MMA savant on the podcast, but man,
John Jones has already come out as the underdog. Like, there's books that have given, forecasted lines if it were to happen. We've seen that done, with fights that just have been talked about randomly, but it's Ngannou is the favorite. I believe he's like minus 145.
Okay, that's fair. And I'm going to say, because we had this chat on the side, that John Jones, he's not afraid of anybody. That's a fact. He's not afraid of anybody. He's the baddest man on the planet other than Ngannou. He has been the greatest MMA fighter of all time. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, though, do you think that he potentially miscalculated his jump up to heavyweight? Do you think that he expected Ngannou to be that guy? Or do you think that didn't even factor into his decision to go to heavyweight? He was going to heavyweight no matter what.
Yeah, I don't think that he had an opponent in mind. I think he was going to heavyweight no matter what. And I think that he's fine with fighting Ngannou, but now he sees the opportunity. Like, there's a lot of people want to see this fight. When you hear the GOAT fighting this specimen, this person who we've only seen people like him in movies and Game of Thrones and shit like that, and when he gets in there, he's just knocking heads. Yeah, we want to see if he can catch the GOAT. Everybody wants to see that. But the problem is Dana White it's always been a system in the UFC. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And they're not, if they give in to John Jones, then they're going to have to give in to the next guy, even though it's John Jones and we're talking about the GOAT here. You know what I mean? Like, and then John Jones saying, well, if McGregor wants it, you would have done it. You know what I mean? But we've seen him even pass up some McGregor fights.
That's true. He has passed up some McGregor fights, but I do think John Jones has a point there.
Well, he might have a point, yeah, but we've seen McGregor saying, I want to fight this month, and he doesn't fight in January. He ends up fighting in the summer because they just couldn't come to terms. So it does happen, but this needs to happen. This fight needs to happen. It needs to happen.
And so I know you're going to lead us through this, but we just entered in a new era, right? And I think we might have also seen the end of one.
Yeah, the Reebok era is over and the Venom era is back. Venom, a brand who was big in like the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world and mixed martial arts world. You know, they made a lot of shorts back before there was sponsors. They had the Venom eyes. They were on the back of the shorts, or the snake. I'm sorry, not the eyes. That was Bad Boy. But Venom is now sponsoring the UFC. You know, a little bit of a pay raise in some of these fighters' pays. I believe champions now get $45,000. You know, you get a $45,000 compensation the fight week. I don't know if compensation is the right word, but a check, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? So champs get $45,000 from Venom for fight week. Any champ defending a belt. If you're a first-time champ, I believe it's like it's like 40 or a little bit under. I don't have the exact numbers here, but
it's like 42, 45.
Yeah, something like that. But, it ranges from fighters all the way from 1 to 5 UFC fights, 6 to 10, 10 to 14, 14 to 20. And then, it goes to champ, and then to defending. So it's, a bump if you're defending than if you're just fighting, a regular championship fight. So I guess a good thing, right? Not the biggest pay raise, but a pay raise nonetheless for the fighters.
And, that's actually not the era I was talking about, starting and ending. I was talking about Mr. Tyron Woodley.
Oh, there's a lot of eras though, Roland. I mean, the end of the Reebok era was big news. It became official today. It became official today.
And supposedly they only paid out $40 million of the $70 million that they promised.
Reebok.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
That is crazy.
I had to mention Woodley. I'm a big Woodley guy. Justin's a big Woodley guy. Man,
I picked Woodley to win, bro, and I'm not even a Woodley guy. I had Woodley winning. Listen, you might be sad, Roland, but you should at least take some pride in the fact that Woodley took pride and went out on his fucking shield and not one of these snooze fest fights that he's given us the past 4 fights. Yeah.
And he thought that he hurt him. He did hurt Luque. Luque was a little stumbled. Woodley went in for the kill and got caught. And, man, the way that he was running around the ring after that was a little scary.
It was bad, fam. It was like he was making up a whole new dance is what it looked like in there. It was bad. Like, he was gassing, too. Like, I don't know. I mean, there had to have been a lot of pressure on Woodley. Last week, me and the other Roland briefly talked about how this could be his last fight. We know that he's had his run-ins with the UFC while being champion. We know that he wasn't the most active champion. He had his demands while he was champion, and he's not on Dana's best side. So this could have been him fighting, for his UFC career. Not his career, but his career in the UFC. And I'm at least glad that he fucking went out swinging, bro, because that's all you can ask of a fighter. Don't go out getting laid on, none of that shit. Hey, go out on your shield. If you get finished, fuck it, you got finished. But people are going to remember you by your last fight. That's all they remember you by is your last fight. And there was a lot of people out there giving Tyron Woodley props that weren't the biggest Tyron Woodley fans this past week because of the way that he went out.
Yeah, I'm glad he went out on his shield. You can tell he went in there. Actually, I mean, he's been saying it ever since he lost the belt that he was going to go in there with bad intentions, and it never really materialized. But you could tell that he actually went in there this week or this past weekend and was like, I'm going to go all in. Whatever happens, happens. And that's exactly, what he did. So shout out Tyron Woodley. If this is the end,
it's the end, brother.
It was a good run. You had your time. You were the chosen one. That was his nickname, right? I'm going to butcher that. But still one of the most
he ain't no LeBron, though.
Explosive knockouts that I've seen when he took out Robbie Lawler for the championship. Definitely a memory that I'll always have. But, yeah, shout out Tyron Woodley. Great, underrated champ. Not a lot of people like to give him love. As Ben said, he wasn't the most active, but he did have some defenses in a tough welterweight division. So, yeah, shout out Tyron Woodley.
Yeah. And Roland, just to get, O'Malley, just to touch base on the other fight, O'Malley had, he did me a little favor having that fight last a little longer in the first round. He thought he had a walk-off KO in the first round.
Oh, that was funny. He legit walked away.
Yeah, he ended up getting the walk-off KO in the third round. But, I mean, the UFC served him up an opponent who hadn't won a fight since 2016.
They served it up for him.
They served him up a get-right fight. And now they're talking about possibly a Chito Vera rematch, or maybe, if Garbrandt doesn't win the belt, when Garbrandt's supposed to be challenging Figueiredo here coming up. He had to pull out his last fight, but that's another name. Dominic Cruz has thrown his name in the hat for possibly getting a Sean O'Malley fight. What do you think, Roland? Step up in competition. What do you think about O'Malley? Are his performances, a recipe of the fighters that he's been fighting? Or do you see him having some of the same success moving up in competition?
I think he can have some of the same success moving up in competition just because of his fight style. I do think the way that he fights, he's rangy. It's hard for guys to come in and try and get in on him. And I would for his next fight. I do like the Dominic Cruz thing. I do think him and Cody Garbrandt as a stylistic dream for a matchmaker, the way that they would go at each other.
He needs time for that, though.
But I want to see him run it back with Chito Vera, because to date, Chito was, I guess, his best competition or his litmus test for competition. Right. And you really didn't get a good look at him because he got hurt. I will give O'Malley that out. He got hurt. I'm not taking anything away from Chito Vera because Chito went in and did his thing.
Well, he got hurt because he got kicked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Chito went out and did his thing, but he was compromised.
That's my thing on O'Malley. Will he hold up, Roland? Will he hold up? Will his body hold up in there? Will he be able to check the kicks? Will he be? He was wearing the wraps around his ankles this week because they were fighting in Vegas. But there's certain commissions, certain states that you fight in, you can't wear those ankle wraps. Like, will he hold up?
I think that's yet to be seen. If I were to put my money on it, and with modern day medicine and training, and I think that he can get better, I will say he'll hold up because he is fighting in the featherweight division, or bantweight. Is it featherweight or bantamweight?
I'm not sure about the name, but he's fighting in the 135.
Oh, he's fighting in the 135. He's not going up against bangers, big men, big guys. It's not the craziest wear and tear, I'd imagine, out of all the divisions in the UFC. So I'll say he'll last. I like his style. To Ben's point, he was served up an opponent this past week as a get-right fight. Oh, yeah. And I want to see him run it back with Chito Vera.
Yeah,
I want to see that run back.
And I wouldn't even mind the Dominic Cruz fight just because I don't think that there's any fear of getting stopped, getting knocked out by Dominic Cruz. Yeah, you might get taught a lesson in, movement and point fighting and shit, but he could learn a lot of lessons for 15 minutes in the octagon with Dominic Cruz. And if he does touch Cruz, Cejudo put out Cruz. Mm-hmm. So O'Malley might be able to put him out if he's able to find him and he's able to touch him. I really like the Dominic Cruz fight. I think that does the most for O'Malley, and I think it's one of the more winnable fights. I think Garbrandt has way too much power, and he needs to work his way to that. Obviously, Garbrandt's in a different place in his career right now, moving down in divisions, trying to fight for that belt. But O'Malley, I'm not all the way sold yet. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. I do think that he's top 15. I don't know that he's top 5.
Fair enough.
So I can't say that he's a championship fighter yet. You know what I mean?
And I think we're going to get to find this out pretty soon because although he had a 3-round fight, he looked like he kind of got out of there unscathed. So he should have a fairly quick turnaround.
Yep. And so moving on, the Houston UFC card coming up in
fans allowed
May 10th with fans, and fuck, are they stacking this card, bro? They got Ferguson against Dariush on that card. They got the Joker Hermanson on that card. They got Oliveira against Chandler headlining for the title on that card.
Nate Diaz
against Edwards just got announced on that card. It seems like Dana's coming back with a bang. I mean, in Florida here coming up in a couple of weeks, they got 3 title fights on the first card with fans. So what are your thoughts with, all these fights getting booked for the It finally seems like we're going to be getting our $70 worth of pay-per-view, man. These cards are stacked. I like
it. These cards are stacked, and more importantly, we're starting to see more movement in these divisions, right? All of these matchups that are coming up in these next 2 cards are division movers, right? They're going to shake up the division. There might be new champions, new contenders coming out, new number 1 contenders for the title. There's a lot of that going on in these next cards.
Title eliminator fights. Title eliminator fights.
Yeah, so I like what's going on. The most surprising fight to me was actually the Nate Diaz fight. I know Nate Diaz has his hardcore fans, but I didn't put together Nate Diaz and Rocky Edwards.
I'm surprised you took that name.
Matchup. Yeah, exactly. I would not have paired those two, but Nate Diaz is always talking about how he's a true martial artist, and true martial artists don't care about the other name. And Leon Edwards, for all intents and purposes, is a true martial artist. He has about everything in the game. So I like that matchup. I like it. It's going to be cool.
The one reason why it makes sense is because Leon Edwards is 1 win away from a title shot, I would say.
Yeah.
So if Nate Diaz beats him, I mean, that puts Nate Diaz right there. And I think that that's the only reason why the name Leon Edwards makes sense in a Nate Diaz fight. because of where it puts him in positioning of the division.
Leon is on the come up in terms of, hey, he might get some clout or some more people might know his name.
And his ranking. He's got a 3 next to his name.
Yeah, and his ranking. And Nate Diaz needs that to catapult himself to get that title.
Nate Diaz wins this fight, he can be fighting for the title his next fight. That's all it takes is one win right here.
You're a Diaz guy. We'll get into the championship fight, but as far as the co-main, do you like Diaz in the co-main?
I like Diaz, and you know what I like? I like that Diaz. You know why I know that Diaz made this fucking fight happen? This is the first ever non-title fight co-main event that's going to be 5 rounds.
That's a big-time move.
Usually, all co-main events, if it's not for a title, 3 rounds.
Well, that's why Conor didn't take his co-main the first time around when he was thinking about his comeback, because he didn't want to be a co-main 3-rounder. Remember, he said that he didn't feel like he could take that.
Here you see Nate Diaz co-main eventing the first ever 5-round non-title fight.
That's big time.
And we know Nate Diaz gets better as the fight goes on. So, I mean, Nate Diaz is going to have a lot of pressure. He's going to have to be in Leon's face. He's going to have to punk Leon. He's going to have to overwhelm Leon. We've seen Leon gas in some of his fights, even in the later rounds. So, it plays into Diaz. I do not see Leon Edwards finishing Nate Diaz. I can't fucking imagine that in the wildest world. The wildest world that I could think of.
Yeah, I'm going to be rooting for Nate Diaz here.
I think that we're going to get 5 rounds. We're going to get a fucking badass lead-up fight into that title fight of Chandler against Oliveira. And that's what I think that we're going to get.
And, you know, that it's interesting to me because, I mean, we're going to get into the lightweight championship right now with, Khabib vacating the title for retirement. And I really do think that the true champion is Justin Poirier, although Chandler is getting his championship fight against Oliveira. This is a little bit of a tournament, right? Because
and Poirier got offered the fight, Roland.
Yeah, Poirier got offered the fight. Yeah, exactly. He chose a payday. But what happens is it sets up a little tournament, right? It's the winner of this fight, Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler, against the winner of McGregor and Poirier. I think that's pretty much set up.
But the winner of this of Chandler and Oliveira will have the strap.
Yeah, they're going to have the strap for sure. But, I mean, who's to say that if McGregor wins, that McGregor in everybody's eyes is not still going to be viewed as that guy, even though Chandler has the strap. I don't know. I'm just saying from perspective. I still think that the 2 guys with the namesake are Poirier and McGregor, even though the strap will probably be on somebody else's waist that night whenever they fight. I just like the prospect of a 4-man tournament and getting this shaken out so we can finally have a lightweight champion after Khabib left, of course. But as we know, he wasn't super active, but whatever.
And it sucks for Gaethje, the last guy to get a title shot, obviously Khabib's last opponent, but he's the odd man out in this whole equation. You know what I mean?
And I think part of it has to do with how he looked against Khabib too.
He got full mounted like it was Swiss cheese. I mean, Khabib got his position. If there was 10 more seconds in the first round, he would have gotten armbarred and lost in the first round. I believe it was an armbar that he had him in. So. Yeah, so I'm not mad that Gaethje got left out, to be honest. He can fight fight the loser of Oliveira and Chandler, and he'll be right back in the picture. Nobody's saying he has to go fight.
Or maybe he goes and fights Dan Hooker or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, he can fucking knock out Dan Hooker. Yeah.
But who do you like in this championship fight before we get to the other one?
I like Oliveira's all-around game. But, man, Chandler fucking lets it go, bro.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chandler.
Chandler lets it go. So just for the sake of disagreement, I'll go Oliveira because if it gets past the second round, I think Oliveira dominates. I don't like the fact that Oliveira has quit before when it's gotten tough.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a whole new fighter. He's on a whole new run, but that has happened before.
And Chandler seems to be bringing that up like in almost every opportunity that he gets. Yeah, that's true. I do think people change, but as far as, shit talking is concerned, I think Michael Chandler has keyed in on that and is calling him a quitter.
We've also seen Michael Chandler's body break down on him in the middle of a fight and cost him a title fight. You know what I mean? Not that it was his choice. He would have kept fighting, but, you take enough leg kicks, that leg's just going to stop working, and it's you're not going to be able to fight. They're going to have to call the fight because you can't stand. So, Michael Chandler has his problems to worry about also. Mm-hmm. I think that it's an awesome title fight. I think that the odds on this fight are going to be pretty close. There's probably odds out already. I just don't have them in front of me, but I expect it to be a pretty competitive fight, and I expect to see people on both sides of this as far as, who they're backing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like Chandler, and I honestly like him to fight. Man, I don't know who he's going to fight. Honestly, I want to say
I think Chandler Chandler against McGregor. Chandler could. I mean, if McGregor gets on the end of one of those Chandler punches, bro, that could be one of the worst ending. We've seen McGregor, get stopped due to tapping and shit like that. But if he gets in there with Michael Chandler and they started changing in the pocket, that could be scary.
Last thing on this topic, this time next year, who's your lightweight champion?
This time next year, Dustin Poirier is the lightweight champion.
Okay, you're sticking with Dustin Poirier. I like that. Poirier.
I think that Poirier is going to get it done against McGregor. I think that he already saw he could take that left. I think there's no greater weapon than McGregor's left. And I think that Dustin Poirier is going to get it done.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and agree with you just for the whole thing. I think it's his destiny right now. I think he's on that trajectory. I think he believes he's going to be – I think he already believes he's the champion. He's just, like you said, going out and getting that money fight. Yeah. And I think he's better than the two other guys that are fighting right now.
And he's earned that fight too.
Yeah, and he's earned it. Exactly. He's a company man, been in there forever. So, yeah, Dustin Poirier, go out and get yours.
This is Poirier calling his shots and saying, I'm going to wait on the belt. What do titles even mean anymore?
Exactly.
Let me go and get this payday that's going to set up the lineage of my family.
Yeah.
It's going to set them up.
Send out some more hot sauce, baby. I still need to get some hot sauce. I know Roland is already on that train, but I need to get on that hot sauce.
Roland has the hot sauce. Yeah, let's close this out just real quick with some matchups that have been booked. Fuck, man. I was pumped about this Vettori against Till fight, bro.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
This weekend. Darren Till breaks his collarbone. He's out.
Gutted for the lad.
I believe that Holland is in. I believe it's official.
Yeah. Holland said that he's in.
I guess Dana White's like, fuck it, kid. Go get your ass whooped because you definitely let me down the last time I had you headlining a card. Listen, Holland's in. This is a fight that it's going to go the way that he wants it to go. I think that they're going to stand, but Vettori's relentless. Vettori has a brick fucking head.
He's got a motor.
Vettori wants to get back at Adesanya. If Vettori, there's another fight that we're going to talk about, but if Vettori wins this fight impressively, if he gets Holland the fuck out of there and makes Dana White happy, I think Vettori could get Adesanya next if he just wins this fight impressively.
That'd be a good build-up, too, because of the whole animosity that's there, or at least on Vettori's side. I don't know that Adesanya cares too much.
It'd be a rematch, and it was a split decision. So Vettori definitely thinks that he can hang, but he needs to get rid of Holland. Do you give Holland much of a fighting chance in this one?
Not in this one, just because of the motivation factor for Vettori, and I do think it's a bad matchup.
Do you think that Holland isn't motivated though after the dud that he laid 2 weeks ago?
I do think he's motivated after the dud, but I just think that Vettori. I know they're the same weight class, but Vettori's a monster compared to Holland.
He's definitely
in terms of mass. So that's where I'm going on this one.
Yeah, I like Vettori. I think he's a fucking madman. I don't think that you want to be in front of him. He's been pissed at how people have been pulling out of fights for him. Holland, I don't think it's going to go very well for Holland, but I do expect him to hang around. Vettori decision. The other fight in that same weight class, another guy we had pull out, Whitaker was supposed to be fighting Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa pulls out. Kevin Gastelum steps in. I'm going to be in Vegas this Saturday night when this one goes down in 2 weeks, baby. So Whitaker versus Gastelum, now the main event for that UFC fight night. And just the Vettori and Holland will be the first one on ABC. They just got a new deal with ABC, so that'll be the first card on ABC. And then the following week, Whitaker against Gastelum. I think that this in itself is a little tournament to see who gets the next title shot, Roland.
Yeah, I think it's a tournament also, and I'm going with Whitaker to come out as the next title contender. You know, I think he's done what he's needed to do after he got knocked out by Israel. And, you know, that's the thing. if he doesn't get knocked out by Israel, say it's a closer fight, I think he would already be fighting him for the championship. But Israel Adesanya can always say that he washed him, and he did. He washed him pretty easily. He got saved by the bell, and then he went out and got knocked out in the very next round. So Adesanya can talk all the crap that he wants about Whitaker, but fact of the matter is, if Whitaker gets his dub and he gets it convincingly, I don't think there's anything that you can say to take the title shot away from him.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's taking a fight. I like the fact that he didn't just go straight to that. So if he wins this, I do think that he's deserving. And
he impressed me against Cannonier, man. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but I walked away very impressed with Robert Whitaker after that fight against Jared Cannonier out in Fight Island.
For sure.
So, yeah. There's a lot of stuff happening in the UFC, a lot of shaking, a lot of movement. It's good.
Roland, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, but close us out, bro. That's all I have for UFC.
All right, Ben. Well, that's it, man. Honestly, that's the We Talking About podcast, or the We Talking About Sports podcast for this week. Ben just had to run, take care of some things, personal things. I'm not going to get into the details of that, but yeah, man. This is Roland Zamora just signing off. We'll be back next week. Hopefully Justin will be with us next week. He's had some medical stuff he's been going through, but he's been on the mend. He would have, if needed, this is a little term, if this were the playoffs, Justin would have been ready to play today. But it's not. It's just a regular season game. He took his extra day of rest, and he's going to be back. So we'll be back with episode 39 next week. We're going to be talking about the national championship and hopefully some more NFL draft and some more NBA stuff. So take it easy. And go Astros tonight. Talk to you guys later.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We're talking about practice. Not a game, not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
We talking about sports. I mean, what we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.